It is the 21st of October 2019. It is the first time that the political parties in the North have been as dormant since the collapse of government in 2017. Unfortunately, only one actually took their seats, and that in itself was a protest about same-sex marriage and abortion being made illegal in the North.
This is not the end of the matter. As far as this party is concerned,
See her, that is Arlene Foster, the leader of the DUP, and these two are the leaders of Sinn Féin. On the left is Mary Lou MacDonald, the leader overall, and on the right is Michelle O'Neill, deputy leader and current leader in the North. Both of these share a lot in common. Both are the two biggest parties in the North. They both share in the fact that they are exact polar opposites, and both would rather put party egos in front of actually helping people in the North. Power sharing isn't an easy thing. Now, that is me. My name is Hugh. I'm a 20-year-old living in Mid-Ulster. I like films, chilling out, watching Arsenal being absolutely terrible, and having a bit of an unhealthy obsession with Nintendo products. I'm also on the autism spectrum, have been since the ripe old age of 4, and like others, being on the autism spectrum is part of who I am and is a part of my identity. I take pride in who I am. Autism is a lifelong developmental disorder that affects how people perceive the world and interact with others. People on the spectrum see, hear, and feel the world differently to other people, and if you're on the spectrum, you're in for life. And despite what Karen's told you on Facebook about how she cured her son's autism with essential oils, autism is not an illness or disease, and it cannot be cured. Now, growing up, that was a bit of a challenge for both me and for my parents. Even at the early stages of my development, my parents always thought I was a little bit different, and they had the idea that I might have autism. But even getting that diagnosis was a challenge and a half. They had to get a referral form from a GP, then they had to go and get a formal test done, and that takes a long time to get done. And then you have to wait for the results, and then every single thing after that, which means getting my statement, getting into a special needs class, just to name a few things. It's definitely improved the process of getting diagnosed and the support that people will get afterwards. However, it is not perfect. This is what I learned after speaking to Shirley Stewart, who leads the branch for the National Autistic Society in Northern Ireland.
Well, I think services have definitely improved. We did get the Autism Act in 2011, which was really meant to improve service provision across Northern Ireland, but we conducted some research into the impact of that, called Broken Promises. And basically, I suppose from the National Autistic Society's perspective, services hadn't grown at the rate that we would have liked to have seen. Especially in the case of adults with autism, we do think that there needs to be an awful lot more input into service provision for adults with autism right across the spectrum. Also, there needs to be more input into adults with autism who have complex needs and who require high levels of support, and children in that section of society as well, because at the moment we don't have the community provision that really is needed there. And you can see this from the situation we have, I suppose, with Macklemore Avenue or Macklemore Hospital, yes, and then trying to resettle people. And we also have a children's equivalent, but our problem is that we do not have enough community provision in order to supply the right proper services that those people need.
And national support from organisations like the National Autistic Society isn't the only thing that people with autism have to help them develop and grow. This is the Superstars Club. They are a club for people with learning difficulties based in Cookstown.
The Superstars Club is an organisation that provides all sorts of opportunities for people with learning difficulties from throughout the whole Mid-Ulster area. That's clubs in the evening, training during the day, work in our cafe and other social enterprises.
Throughout my teenage years, I would go up to the Superstars Club every week. I would go up to the bowling club every Tuesday and escape from any sort of problems that I would have in secondary school, and trying to build any sort of social skills. It was a place where I can unwind and leave all my problems behind. And that is something that others that go to the clubs feel as well. Superstars and National Autistic Society have been key contributors in helping kids with autism develop themselves.
Well, I think, I suppose, both ourselves and Autism NI have a branch network that operates across Northern Ireland, and that branch network is really run by parent volunteers, and they would provide a lot of those services locally. We do have a Mid-Ulster branch here, and they run certain activities for children and young people with autism, and obviously support for parents and carers. We have just opened as well. There's a branch just in Dungannon, just slightly outside.
Whereabouts?
It's at Coal Island, so it's Coal Island and District. So it's Dungannon and District. So, but the actual branch is based in Dungannon, and they have a little autism centre with some sensory type things in there and their own facilities. And I think that is actually going to be very useful. That officially opened just at the end of last year.
Well, in many different ways. In the evenings, it's given them an opportunity to mix with other people. Our bowling club on a Tuesday night, they've learned new skills doing the 10-pin bowling. On Wednesday night, they've learned how to act and to sing and to dance. And then every year in June, they put on a show, which is a terrific night and a great achievement for them. On Thursday evenings, we have a sports club where they learn lots of new sports, and it helps to keep them fit. And then on Saturday night, we have this social club. But then during the week, when they work in the cafe, they're mixing with members of the public and learning new skills and abilities all the time. So I think that members have grown in confidence, they've learned new skills and made new friends and just have lots of more opportunities, things to do.
I suppose in a wider National Autistic Society context, we have just opened a new autism centre. Now it is based in Carryduff, which borders two trust areas. And at the core of that is day provision for adults who have autism and very complex needs who couldn't access traditional daycare. So it's a very autism specific environment. So we're very much trying to change the way in which provision is offered and to, I suppose, offer a really high quality environment as well.
And while it's great that charities and organisations like the National Autistic Society and Superstars exist, I feel that there's a lot more that can be done by the wider public and other places in the community.
Well, I think there's a number of different things. So, I mean, there is obviously that wider understanding of autism. I mean, we do have a lot of awareness about autism now, and I think that people are very aware of autism, but whether or not they actually understand it is something that's a bit different. So I think that there still needs to be quite a bit of work in terms of understanding autism and really how to support autistic children, adults and their families. So I think that there's a big role for, say for example, leisure centres, community type provision to make adjustments that makes public buildings, for example, more accessible to people on the autism spectrum.
It is great that everyone is trying to do their part to help. Well, almost everyone. The lack of a Northern Irish Assembly has taken its toll on everyone. It hasn't been running since before I left secondary school. That was nearly 3 years ago.
Well, I think it very much has affected the progress that we have made in terms of the Autism Act, because really at the core there should have been a new strategy being written and coming into place, and definitely that with having no executive there, that has definitely been delayed. Now, as I understand it, there is a team now in place that is going to look at the new strategy. But again, that's very, very much delayed. I think you can also see the impact in terms of education for children and young people with autism. And we are looking now at a decline, I suppose, in the amount of statements, I think, that have been issued over the last number of years. And obviously, the executive and the Northern Ireland Assembly are there to hold our government departments to account. So there is no accountability mechanism in that process, and I think that's something definitely that we very, very much miss. And obviously, you're looking at politicians to set the political agenda, and really, you need them there in order to ensure that autism is high up that political agenda and that it's always been taken into consideration.
Great job, lads.
I actually think the focus has been so much on Brexit and obviously the political situation and the impact that will have in terms of the border here in Northern Ireland. But I think all of that, whilst important, What's really important as well for people with autism is the type of provision that they're going to be getting from health and social care, from housing, from education, and all of those at the minute in the absence of Northern Ireland Assembly, and with the emphasis being on Brexit, those areas are actually being neglected. So we are not getting the same type of investment that we really need in health and social care and education and housing and employment for children, adults with autism. And that's something that we really, really need to focus on, because there's a lot of potential within the autism community if the right type of support is provided to enable them to enable people with autism to lead the best possible life that they can. But we need to be constantly moving on. We need to be constantly looking at new interventions, at new support mechanisms, and really having the funding as well to enable that to do that. So with no Northern Ireland Assembly and the focus being on Brexit, I think that autism is dropping down the scale in terms of where the priorities of government are lying.
Right, so you had to hear about how the Northern Irish Assembly, being out of commission for nearly 3 years, has taken its toll on everyone around us. Now, is there any real solution to help begin fixing all this?
Well, they need to get back into the Northern Ireland Executive, I suppose, would be my answer. I think it's really important, I suppose, if you're lobbying for good services for people with autism, that really we have a local assembly that is responsible to the needs of the local communities. And, so from that perspective, it is really important that we have a functioning assembly.
Now, that doesn't sound hard, now does it? Because right now, so many people on the spectrum are being affected by this. Waiting lists for assessments are at an all-time high. Parents are being left for dust and are being isolated. Support in schools have been stretched as well. And I know at the end of the day, autism issues are among a sea of many different things affecting the North. But with that said, is this fighting really more important than people's needs?